On March 28th, 2025, an officer was in the process of serving a capital murder warrant on a suspect in Harris County, Texas. While conducting a felony stop, the defendant, who was identified by his Texas ID card, pulled up on the officer's perimeter, got out of their motor vehicle, and began walking to the residence where the murder suspect was. The officer's supervisor ordered the defendant to stop and stay right there. The defendant refused and continued to ignore officers while walking towards the residence. The officer supervisor ordered the defendant to step back multiple times and then grabbed the defendant and took him to the ground.
Him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was he the capital murder suspect?
No, Your Honor.
I live there.
Stop.
Oh, sorry.
Before we even get into the hearing, let's be clear. This case turns on one huge question. Was this man actually interfering with police? Or did law enforcement overreact in the middle of a high-stakes operation and end up arresting the wrong person for the wrong reason? Because what starts as a serious scene involving a capital murder warrant quickly turns into something very different. Confusion, contradictions, and a courtroom record that just does not hold together the way the state needs it to. Here's what makes this so compelling. Officers were trying to serve a capital murder warrant in Harris County, Texas, which already means tensions were sky high. Nobody is denying that police had a dangerous job in front of them. But the moment this defendant enters the picture, the facts start getting slippery. He apparently pulls up near the perimeter, gets out, and starts walking toward a residence. Police tell him to stop. He keeps going. They take him to the ground. On paper, the charge sounds straightforward. Interference with the duties of a public servant. Simple, right? Not so fast, because in court, it's not enough for something to sound suspicious. It has to be legally supported. And that's where this hearing starts to crack open. Was the murder suspect in a truck at a nearby residence? Inside the residence? Outside it? Was this defendant approaching an active threat, or just trying to get to the place where he says he lives? And if the state cannot clearly explain the scene, the timeline, or the actual interference, that is a massive problem. Watch what happens here, because the judge starts pulling on one loose thread after another. And once that starts, the whole probable cause theory begins to unravel. So I want to know from you early, if police are running a dangerous operation, do you think any civilian who ignores commands should automatically be arrested, or do officers still have to prove exactly how that person interfered? Let's get into it.
I believe that they were in the process of serving a warrant on someone else at the residence, and that's when they came in contact with the defendant.
Okay.
Ordered him to stop. He refused to stop going towards the residence.
Did it serve the warrant? What ended up happening?
Looks like after refusing commands, there was a brief struggle where he was detained.
Was the murder suspect there?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. It does not say. I have no further facts that show if the warrant was complete on the warrant or not, Your Honor, or completed at the time. I just believe they were in the process and believed him to be at the residence, and that's when this incident occurred.
Read it again, if you don't mind.
Yes, Your Honor. On March 28, 2025, the law enforcement officer and Squad 5 of the Houston Police Department's Gang Division served a capital murder warrant for a suspect observed inside a truck at a nearby residence. While conducting a felony stop, the defendant, who is identified by his Texas ID card, pulled up on the perimeter, got out of the vehicle, walked to the sidewalk, and began walking to the residence where the murder suspect was. The supervisor then ordered the defendant to stop and to stay right there. The defendant refused and continued ignoring officers and walking towards the residence. The supervisor ordered him to step back multiple times, but the defendant was once again ignored the officers. The law enforcement officer grabbed the defendant and made him off balance and took him to the ground.
Okay, so now, but when you first started, you said they were going to a capital murder suspect in a car.
Yes, Your Honor. That's what. So I was originally reading the summary. I'm going straight from the gems down, Your Honor. It looks like the suspect was observed inside a truck at a nearby residence.
So the suspect is not even in the residence. No.
Then they later state that there was that the suspect, that the defendant here was walking towards the residence where the murder suspect was. I'm not sure, Your Honor. I have nothing further.
I find no probable cause in your case. Just be careful, man. When you get into a pissing match with
I understand.
who's going to win,
They are. I understand.
no.
Yes, sir.
All right. And
And there it is, the moment this case collapses. The judge is not saying police can't secure a perimeter. The judge is not saying officers have to tolerate people wandering into a dangerous operation. What the judge is saying is this: if you're bringing a criminal charge into court, your facts have to make sense, and these facts absolutely did not. The state's own presentation kept shifting. First, the suspect is tied to a residence, then he's in a truck, then maybe near the residence, and nobody seems sure where anybody actually was. That is a serious problem when probable cause depends on clear, credible, specific details, and notice how the judge zeroes in on the exact weakness. Where was the murder suspect, and what exactly did this defendant do that legally crossed the line from disobeying commands into criminal interference? Those are not minor details. Those are the case. Without them, the charge starts looking less like a solid prosecution and more like a heat-of-the-moment arrest that never got backed up properly in court. That warning from the judge at the end is important too. He's basically saying, legally, this case isn't there, but practically, arguing with police on an active scene is still a dangerous gamble. And that's where this gets interesting. Two things can be true at once. The defendant may have exercised poor judgment, and the state still may have failed to prove a crime. So what do you think? Did this man irresponsibly escalate a tense situation, or was he caught in the chaos of a police operation and charged without enough evidence? Let me know, because this is exactly where law and real life collide.